In a quiet town, far away from the noisy city, there lived a young girl called Dorothy. Dorothy's father died when she was still a baby. She grew up hearing stories about him, but she could not remember his face, his voice, or even how he looked. The only memory she had was a small picture in her mother's box, already fading with time. After some years, her mother Ifeoma got married again. The new man's name was Mr. Okuru. He was tall, with a strong voice that shook the ground whenever he spoke. He always wanted people to fear him. At first, Dorothy was happy. She thought she had found another father who would love her. Whenever people asked her, "Where is your daddy?" she would point proudly to Mr. Okoro and say, "That is my daddy." Mr. Okoro paid her school fees and often boasted to everyone, "I took care of Dorothy from primary school to secondary school. Without me, she would be roaming the streets." Those words made Dorothy respect him more, even though sometimes they stung her heart. But as Dorothy grew older, things began to change. She became a beautiful young woman, full of life. Her skin glowed, her eyes were bright, and her smile could light up the darkest room. Boys in the neighborhood began to notice her. Some would wave at her from afar, others would try to walk her home. Dorothy was innocent. She only wanted friends, but her stepfather saw danger in every smile. Whenever he saw her speaking to a boy, his face would twist in anger. One evening, Dorothy greeted a boy from her school. The boy only waved and went away. But when she entered the house, Mr. Okoro grabbed her by the arm and slapped her so hard that her ears rang. "Do you want to bring shame into my house?" he thundered. "Do you want people to laugh at me?" Dorothy stood in shock, holding her cheek. She could not understand why her stepfather was behaving like that. At night, things grew worse. Sometimes he would call her into his room, speaking softly, pretending to be kind. But his eyes were not the eyes of a father. They were the eyes of a man with dark thoughts. Dorothy's heart would beat fast like a drum. She would quickly make an excuse and run away. But the more she ran, the more his anger grew. He began to punish her for small things. If food had too much salt, he would beat her. If she washed clothes and one was not clean enough, he would shout until the whole compound shook. Dorothy could not take it anymore. One afternoon, as her mother was cooking in the kitchen, Dorothy gathered courage. She walked slowly to her mother, her eyes red with tears. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice shaking. "Mr. Okoro is trying to treat me in a bad way. He looks at me in a strange way. He calls me to his room at night." Her mother turned and looked at her sharply. For a moment, Dorothy thought her mother would hug her and comfort her. Instead, her mother's hand rose in the air and landed on Dorothy's cheek with a heavy slap. "Shut your mouth," Ifeoma shouted. "Do you want to scatter my marriage? Since your father died, have any of his relatives ever cared about you? This man is the one feeding you, clothing you, and training you. If you ever open your mouth to lie against him again, I will send you out of this house." Dorothy staggered back, her face burning from the slap. Her heart broke into pieces. She fell to the ground crying bitterly, her tears wetting the floor. That night, Dorothy sat outside the house, staring at the moon. She felt alone, unwanted, and unloved. Even the crickets in the grass seemed to mock her with their loud cries. She asked herself again and again, "What have I done wrong? Why does everyone hate me?" But her story was only beginning. Days passed and Mr. Okoro grew bolder. One evening, as they were eating, he turned to his wife and said, "Stop feeding that girl. I have tried enough. After all, I trained her from primary school to secondary school. Let her fend for herself." To Dorothy's shock, her mother agreed. From that day, her plate was often empty. She went to bed hungry many nights, her stomach crying louder than her mouth. Yet, no matter how thin and weak she became, her stepfather never stopped troubling her. One afternoon, Dorothy decided she could not keep quiet anymore. She called both her mother and her stepfather into the parlor. With shaking hands, she knelt on the floor, her knees pressing the cold tiles. Tears poured down her cheeks as she lifted her eyes. "Daddy, what have I done to you? Why are you treating me this way? Please, if I offended you, forgive me." Her words were soft, but her heart was breaking. Mr. Okoro's face grew dark. Slowly, he stood up from his chair. His shadow covered Dorothy as he bent towards her. His voice was cold and heavy. "Dorothy," he said, "listen to me carefully. If I do not have my way with you, no man will ever marry you. I will make sure of it." Dorothy froze. His words cut her like a knife. She could not believe what she was hearing. Before she could even cry, her mother rushed to her. With fire in her eyes, Ifeoma grabbed her by the arm and began to beat her. "Do what this man says," she screamed. "I will not lose my marriage because of you. After all, are you still a virgin? Nonsense! Don't spoil my home." She pushed Dorothy so hard that she fell to the floor, hitting her elbow against the chair. Pain shot through her body. Her mother walked out, slamming the door behind her. Dorothy lay there on the floor, her tears mixing with her pain. The house was silent, but inside her heart, a storm was rising. She knew she was trapped in darkness, but what she did not know was that the worst was still to come.
The days turned into weeks, and Dorothy's life became heavier than a mountain. She woke up every morning with fear in her chest, wondering what trouble would come that day. Her mother no longer looked at her with love. Every time Dorothy entered the room, Ifeoma's face tightened and her eyes became sharp like a knife. Dorothy could not understand why her mother chose marriage over her own child. Mr. Okoro, on the other hand, grew more dangerous. His anger came like a storm, sudden and fierce, and his eyes never left Dorothy for long. They followed her whenever she swept the floor, washed plates, or fetched water. She felt like a bird trapped in a cage, watched by a hunter who refused to blink. One Saturday afternoon, Dorothy was sent to the stream to fetch water. The sun was hot, burning her head, but she did not care. The stream was her only place of peace. There, she could sing softly to herself, songs that carried her pain to the wind. Her voice was sweet, like honey dripping slowly from a calabash. Each note carried sadness, but also beauty. Other girls fetching water would often stop and listen, their mouths open, their eyes wet with tears. That day, as she sang, a group of boys passing by stopped to listen. Among them was a young man named Chike, tall and handsome, with kind eyes. When Dorothy finished her song, Chike clapped and said, "Your voice is a gift, like an angel from heaven. With a voice like this, you can never be forgotten." Dorothy blushed. She was not used to kind words. She quickly filled her pot and began to walk away, her heart beating fast. But unknown to her, someone was watching from the tall grasses. Mr. Okoro had followed her to the stream. His eyes were full of fire. That evening, the storm came. As Dorothy entered the house with her water pot, Mr. Okoro's voice roared through the compound. "Dorothy, come here this minute!" Her hands trembled. She placed the pot down gently and walked into the parlor. Her mother was sitting on the sofa, peeling groundnuts, her face calm as if nothing in the world was wrong. Mr. Okoro's eyes burned into Dorothy's soul. "Who was that boy you were smiling at by the stream? Who is he to you?" Dorothy's lips shook. "He is nobody, Daddy. He only said I have a nice voice. That was all." Before she could finish, a heavy blow landed on her face. She staggered and fell to the ground, tasting blood in her mouth. Her mother did not move. She only continued peeling groundnuts, the shells dropping to the floor one by one. "From today," Mr. Okoro thundered, "you will not step foot in that stream again.
If I ever catch you speaking to any boy, I will make sure your beauty turns to ashes." Dorothy lay on the ground, her heart beating like a frightened drum. She wanted to scream, but her voice was buried deep inside her chest. That night, when everyone was asleep, Dorothy crept outside and sat under the moon again. The sky was bright, the stars blinking as if they knew her pain. She sang softly, her song full of sorrow, her tears running freely. But as her song floated into the night, a cold wind rose suddenly. The leaves of the mango tree beside the house began to shake. Dorothy stopped singing and looked around, her heart pounding. For a brief moment, she thought she heard a whisper, soft, low, and strange. "Dorothy, Dorothy, your suffering has only begun." She froze. The compound was silent. Her eyes searched everywhere, but she saw no one. Was it her imagination, or was something darker at work? The following morning, Dorothy woke up to find her mother boiling hot water in the kitchen. Mr. Okoro was standing beside her, whispering in her ear. When Dorothy entered, they both stopped talking at once. A chill ran down her spine. "Go and sweep the backyard," her mother said sharply, avoiding her eyes. Dorothy obeyed, but as she swept, she kept thinking about the whisper she had heard under the moon. She felt that something terrible was about to happen, something beyond her understanding. And she was right, because unknown to her, Mr. Okoro had already made up his mind. If Dorothy continued to resist him, he would use charms, dark, evil charms, to make sure she obeyed. Her life was walking straight into a shadow she could not yet see.
The night was dark, heavy, and strange. The moon glowed brighter than usual, as if it wanted to witness what was about to happen in the Okoro's compound. Dorothy stood trembling in the parlor, her eyes fixed on her stepfather. He held a black calabash in his hands, covered with red cloth. Her mother sat quietly in one corner, her face pale, her body shaking, but she did not move. "Daddy, please, what is this?" Dorothy's voice broke like glass. Mr. Okoro's smile was not a smile of love. It was a smile full of wickedness. "You refused me, Dorothy. You disobeyed me. You thought you could disgrace me. Tonight, I will show you that no one dares to resist me and goes free." Her heart pounded. She turned to her mother, her eyes begging for help. "Mommy, please, say something. Don't let him do this to me." But her mother's lips trembled, and instead of answering, she covered her face with her wrapper. Then before Dorothy could move, Mr. Okoro dipped his fingers into the calabash and smeared a black liquid across her forehead. The liquid burned like fire. She screamed and tried to wipe it off, but her hands felt heavy, like chains were holding them down. The air in the room shifted. The kerosene lamp flickered. A cold wind rushed in, though the windows were tightly closed. Mr. Okoro lifted his hand and began to chant strange words, his voice deep and frightening, filling every corner of the room. Dorothy's body convulsed. She fell to the floor, rolling and crying. Her skin began to change. Her fingers shortened, her nose stretched, her ears grew round and flat. She screamed in pain, but her voice cracked. And then it changed into a strange, pitiful squeal. Her mother screamed, covering her mouth, unable to believe her eyes. When the chanting stopped, where Dorothy had once knelt, a pig stood trembling. But this pig was not ordinary. Its face still carried human features. Dorothy's eyes, red with tears, and her trembling lips hidden within the snout. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Mr. Okoro burst into loud laughter. "Look at her! Look at this stubborn girl! I told you, if I cannot have her, no man will ever have her. Now let her see how it feels to be rejected." He opened the door and with a heavy kick, chased Dorothy out into the night. The neighbors were shocked. People passing by the compound saw a strange pig running into the street. Its body was that of an animal, but its face carried human features. Eyes that cried like a young girl's eyes. A mouth that tried to form words but could only squeal. They froze in fear. Some women screamed and ran.
Men crossed themselves and whispered, "Blood of Jesus." "Is that not Okoro's stepdaughter Dorothy?" a voice whispered. "No, it cannot be," another answered, trembling. "But look well, those eyes, that face, it is her." By the next morning, the whole town was talking. Dorothy, now trapped in the body of a pig, tried many times to return home. She would squeal and scratch at the gate, her human eyes pleading. But each time, Mr. Okoro came out with his stick, chasing her away with curses. "Out! Get away from here! You are not welcome in this house!" He would throw stones until she ran into the bush, crying in her strange, pitiful squeals. But her mother's heart was not completely stone. At night, when Mr. Okoro was asleep, Ifelma would sneak out quietly with leftover food. She would place it near the backyard and whisper, her voice shaking with guilt. "Dorothy, my daughter, forgive me. Eat this food. Stay alive. I cannot help you more than this. Please, forgive me." Dorothy, with tears falling from her human eyes, would eat slowly, staring at her mother with pain and longing. She wanted to speak, to hug her mother, to ask why, but all she could do was squeal softly and watch as her mother tiptoed back inside. As days passed, the whole town grew restless. No one could understand how a pig could carry the face of a human being. Many people believed it was a curse. Some said Dorothy had offended her stepfather. Others whispered that her mother had sacrificed her own child to keep her marriage. At night, when the moon was bright, Dorothy's sorrowful songs could be heard again. She would stand by the mango tree outside the compound, her spirit rising from the pig's body. Her human form appeared like a shadow, her lips moving, her voice full of pain. The sound of her song traveled far, waking people from their sleep. They would whisper to one another, "Have you heard? The pig sings at night." No, it is not a pig. It is Dorothy's spirit crying for help. Fear spread through the whole town. People stopped visiting the Okoros. They avoided the road that passed by their house. Some even warned their children never to go near. But Dorothy's suffering was not hidden from heaven. Her prayers, her tears, and her songs were rising higher every night. And though she did not know it, someone had already started to search for her. Someone who carried light. Someone who knew the power of wicked charms. Someone who might be the key to breaking her curse. Her story was not over. The darkest moment had come, but the dawn was near.
The night was heavy, the moon shining like a lamp that refused to hide. Dorothy's spirit had been crying for many nights, her songs floating in the darkness. And then a stranger arrived. His name was Obinna. He was a traveler, known in many villages as a man of light. Wherever wicked charms rose, his prayers broke them. He had heard of the pig with a human face and the voice that sang sorrowful songs, and his heart refused to rest. When Obinna entered the village, people whispered, "Stranger, do not go near Okoro's compound. The pig there is cursed." But Obinna's eyes were calm. No curse is greater than the cry of an innocent soul. That night, Obinna walked straight to the front of the Okoro's house. The moon was full, the air cold, and Dorothy's spirit appeared again, her shadow standing above the pig body. Her voice trembled in the air. When she saw Obinna, she gasped, "Who are you?" "My name is Obinna," he said softly. "Your tears reached heaven. I've come to set you free." Dorothy shook her head, crying, "Leave before he finds you. His charms are stronger than iron. He will destroy you." Obinna looked at her with boldness. "No man's charm is stronger than the power of God." Just then, the compound door flung open. Mr. Okoro stormed out, holding his black calabash, his eyes burning with wickedness. "You stranger! Who gave you the courage to come here? Do you want to die tonight?" Obinna stood firm. "You wicked man! You destroyed the child you were meant to protect. Tonight, your evil ends." Mr. Okoro lifted the calabash and began to chant, his voice thundering, shaking the ground. The pig body of Dorothy squealed in terror.
But Obinna raised his hands and prayed, "Father of light, hear the cry of the innocent, break the chains of darkness." Suddenly, a mighty wind swept the compound. The calabash trembled in Okoro's hands. Fire leapt from it, burning his fingers. He screamed, dropped it, and it shattered on the ground. The black liquid hissed, and a terrible cry vanished into the night. Dorothy's body shook. A bright light surrounded her. The pig form melted away, and slowly she rose again as a human, weak, trembling, but free. Her mother, Ifeoma, ran out crying, "Dorothy, my daughter." But Dorothy turned away, tears streaming. "Mommy, you watched me suffer. You chose silence instead of protecting me." Obinna placed his hand gently on Dorothy's shoulder. "Forgiveness is the first step to healing. She failed you, but let your heart heal." The villagers gathered quickly, shouting in wonder, "It is true! Dorothy is free! The stranger has delivered her! God has shamed Okoro." Mr. Okoro, powerless and disgraced, fell to the ground. The people drove him out of the village, never to return again. As days passed, Dorothy's heart healed. She grew strong again, and her story spread to many villages. Obinna stayed close, guiding her with care and respect. With time, love blossomed between them. They were later joined in marriage, and their union was a testimony that light is always stronger than darkness. Dorothy forgave her mother, though the wound took time to fade. Ifeoma wept for many nights, realizing her silence had almost cost her daughter's life. Moral lesson: a mother must never choose a man over the safety of her child. Silence in the face of evil is as dangerous as evil itself. No darkness is greater than light. When truth and courage rise, wickedness must fall. Patience, forgiveness, and faith can turn pain into victory and rejection into joy. Dorothy's story became a warning to all, and also a song of hope, that no matter how dark the night is, the dawn will always come. The end.